What's up everyone, it's your girl Shay here and I'm back with another video for you guys. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm talking about both the Ariel casting for the new live action Little Mermaid and the Nessa controversy that's gone on with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, regarding the Ariel Little Mermaid casting, many of us found out a couple of days ago that Halle Bailey is going to be playing the lead role of Ariel in the Little Mermaid. And many of us are actually quite happy with her playing this role because she's a very pretty girl. She definitely can sing, and from the word of the director, she actually does portray the innocence that they want portrayed for Ariel. Of course, though, there is a lot of backlash concerning the casting choice because Halle Bailey is obviously African American, and in the animated version of Little Mermaid, Ariel is a white girl with red hair. Now, as far as the red hair issue is concerned, obviously they're probably going to have Halle probably dye her dreadlocks red for this role, and to me that's besides the point. Most people are concerned because Halle looks nothing like Ariel. I'm personally okay with it. I don't mind it because honestly Ariel's race has absolutely nothing to do with the ongoing of the storyline of The Little Mermaid. Also, in the original source material for The Little Mermaid, which was written by Hans Christian Andersen, there is actually no discussion of Ariel's race or complexion, so she can actually be portrayed by anybody and by any race for this particular film or just in general. Also, in the stage play for The Little Mermaid, there is also no one within that cast, from what I researched online, looks like the characters from the animated film. King Triton is actually portrayed by an African American man, and also so is Sebastian, and Ursula is portrayed by an African American woman, I believe. Ariel, though, is portrayed by a white woman with red hair, but the rest of the cast and crew are of various different races and also various different shades. So this just goes to show you don't actually have to have all the characters look like the animated film that it's supposed to be. Plus, many people are also kind of confused, or they seem to forget that Brandy actually played a black Cinderella in the late 90s in the Cinderella film. Whitney Houston played the fairy godmother. The king and queen, the king was white, the queen was black, and Prince Charming was actually Asian. No one within that film looked exactly like the characters they were meant to portray from the original animated movie, and also it wasn't a different interpretation of the original storyline. It was still the original Cinderella. I think many people are getting confused with the other interpretations of Cinderella that came out with both Hilary Duff and also Selena Gomez and also Lucy Hale, which are basically all loosely based off of Cinderella. But honestly, this is nothing new of people actually getting upset about African American actors playing the parts of white characters within Hollywood media. We've seen it so many times before. It's actually happened in Harry Potter, it's happened for Suicide Squad, it's also happened for the Hunger Games. It's happened so many times that I'm honestly not at all surprised. In Harry Potter, when the Harry Potter stage play came out for The Cursed Child, Hermione Granger was portrayed by an African American woman, and so many people were highly upset about this. But it actually came out from J.K. Rowling herself that in the books she actually never talked about what race or complexion Hermione Granger actually was. She only described her as having bushy brown hair and big teeth, or big front teeth. She actually never talked about that she was white. She never said she was black. She never said she was Asian. She just said that was the only description that we got of this particular character. Now, how movie films decide to portray her was one thing, but the stage play was completely another. But people obviously were very, very upset. Now, when it came to the Hunger Games, people were kind of upset with the portraying of Rue and Senna. I remember there was a tweet that came out years ago when Hunger Games first came out, and people were very shocked to see Rue was black. They were shocked to see Senna was African American as well, whereas in the books they're actually talked about as being African American, but Rue just had the same personality as Katniss's sister Prim. When it came to Deadshot was also actually, he's portrayed obviously by Will Smith in the movies, but I'm assuming in the comic books he's actually portrayed as white. And some people were upset, but it seems like Deadshot got a little bit of a pass because it is Will Smith, and so many people do enjoy Will Smith's acting. People did the same thing with the role of Annie when it was portrayed by an African American girl. People did not like that casting choice. And it seems like, I believe another casting choice that people do not like was MJ for Spider-Man, because obviously as of right now, she is being portrayed by Zendaya, and Zendaya is obviously African American, and people did not like it. But when it comes to Spider-Man, Zendaya is actually portraying a different interpretation of MJ. As many people have known, MJ in the other Spider-Man films is portrayed as being kind of smart, very popular kind of a girl, whereas MJ in the new Spider-Man films is portrayed as being very Daria-like from the Daria cartoon, if any of you guys have ever seen it. And she's kind of like a deadpan character, but she's also really funny and actually fun to watch on screen. So I obviously really think Zendaya does a great job as MJ. But besides the point, it's not that big of a deal that Halle Bailey is portraying Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Once again, in the original source material, Ariel does not have an actual race or an actual complexion, but a lot of people are mostly thinking that because Ariel is portrayed as a redhead white girl in the animated films, that she needs to be portrayed as such in the live action, which isn't true. And actually with Disney, when it came to making The Little Mermaid, Ariel was actually supposed to be blonde, but they changed her to a redhead because of the fact they had already done a mermaid film before, and the mermaid in that film, it was a live action actually, was blonde. They did not want people to get confused and believe that it was the same character, so they made her a redhead. So in reality, Ariel was actually supposed to be a blonde, not a redhead, so it's really not that big of a deal. So people need to kind of understand that the movie is a movie. Ariel is a fictional character, and she is also a fish. Ariel doesn't talk for a majority of the film anyway. Halle Bailey can actually really sing, and I'm very excited to see her in this actual role. Now, a lot of people are also saying that this is considered blackwashing, which is a term that people are using in proponent of whitewashing, which we have heard before. I don't think blackwashing can be true in some ways, because honestly, I know a lot of people are saying, well, like, how would you feel if they took an iconic black character and made them white? And to be honest, I would be very upset because of the fact there are so few iconic black characters for black actors to actually portray, that to then make them white sucks, because there is so many iconic white characters within Hollywood that so many people can portray, that to then take a black character and make them white sucks for us. For me, as an African American female growing up watching Disney movies, and even just watching movies in particular, there were very few iconic or very few black characters in general that I could actually emulate or look up to, because most of the characters I saw were white or did not look like me. Disney didn't even make their first black princess until 2009 with Princess and the Frog of Tiana, and that was the first time I was actually like, oh my, I actually have a character that looks like me. Before that, the only character that I felt that I liked the most that was a person of color was actually Jasmine from Aladdin. Now, I think people just need to stop. Like, people need to stop hating on this girl and just congratulate her on getting this role. And some people are like, oh, she's taking the role away from Gingers. Ginger is not a race. Ginger is a talk about a hair color of people, which can be based off of any race of people, not just white people can be gingers. Black people can be gingers as well, because I do know black people who have natural red hair, and they can also be called gingers. So that kind of needs to stop. But overall, the main thing is that Ariel does not have a race. People are only basing the fact that her race needs to be a certain way because of how Disney portrayed her in the animated films. That's literally all it is. Whereas in reality, if you go based off of the source material, she doesn't have a race. She's just a fish. So she can be portrayed by a black person. Now, as far as the whole Nessa controversy is concerned, that was about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and they actually released a new gym leader, I believe, by the name of Nessa, whom is a African American gym leader and also a dark-skinned African American gym leader. Now, a artist came out who made a fan art of Nessa, and I believe she actually made Nessa a little bit lighter compared to how she is actually portrayed, and people were actually very upset about this. What I want people to understand is that I personally have no problem with this young lady's fan art. I think it is absolutely beautiful, and once again, it is fan art. It is it is not the actual original creators whom are making Nessa a lighter skin tone. It is a fan art, meaning this fan can portray Nessa in any way she wants to, and it has nothing to do with us. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I personally am perfectly okay with this. Now, what I need people to understand about why people are so upset about this backlash is because within society there is always this huge thing of being a dark-skinned female that you are made to feel unattractive, and they always want to brighten a character's skin tone to make them lighter in general. And I can say as a dark-skinned female that it kind of sucks to see yourself portrayed in the media in such a bad light, or make them feel like your skin tone as darker is not okay to put on screen. And I feel like unless you're a person of color whom is darker, you may not completely understand this. I can honestly say within media in general, most people look at dark-skinned females nowadays a little bit better than before, but before it was more so like you weren't considered pretty, you weren't considered attractive. I mean, even in the fashion industry, when you look at a lot of fashion pages, Instagrams, they do put lighter skinned people of color or people who are racially ambiguous, whereas people who are dark skinned are not on there as much. But I think that's what people need to understand about why there was so much backlash. Do I agree with the backlash? I do not, because this was just a fan art portrayal of a character, not the actual art of the character done by the studio. It's not like the studio came out and said, we are going to lighten her skin tone, we don't like her darker. This was a fan art. This had nothing to do with the actual studio. So don't attack the artist. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal because it's just her portrayal of the character. Let her do what she wants to do with the character, but also understand where us as dark-skinned people are actually coming from, because we don't like seeing people change a skin tone over a character that has already been seen as darker skin, which is why there was also a backlash for a little bit about the portrayal of Tiana in Wreck-It Ralph 2 when she appeared to have a lighter skin tone than that of her in the original Princess and the Frog. But that was mostly due to like it being in a more 3D kind of a style compared to the 2D drawn style that was seen originally. But overall, within this amass of a video, don't worry so much about the race of a character, I guess, especially if the race has nothing to do with the situation of the story. And a lot of characters that are iconic and they are African American, a lot of them do deal with issues of race within their storylines, which is why it would be hard to have them portrayed by someone whom is white. Now, I do agree in representation within Hollywood. I agree that there has to be more Asian actors, more blacks, more Mexicans, more of anybody of a particular race, because of the fact, looking at these younger kids, it feels nice to have your race represented in something that you yourself can see yourself portrayed in. And there's backlash all the time, and to me there's always going to be backlash of somebody portraying a character if they do not look like them as far as the race is concerned. Like, it's always going to be there. And yes, there's probably going to be more backlash of a white person portraying a black character than probably like a person of color portraying a white character, just because of the fact that there is so few people of color represented in Hollywood. So to have that taken away, regardless of the race of the original character, but then to have someone white in that role, it sucks and it hurts to see that happen, because it gives us, our minds, people of color, that within Hollywood, they don't believe that having that person stay a person of color is marketable within Hollywood, because that's how it has always been. When Black Panther was first, coming out from Marvel, it was a long time coming, because a lot of people basically thought that having a black superhero on screen was not going to make a lot of money, but it made over $1 billion in the box office because so many people wanted to see this movie, because they liked what it represented and they liked the fact that it was an African American superhero, and the fact that his sister was super smart and it wasn't a stereotypical like black person or a black character, that kind of a thing. And so I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. I honestly am excited to see the Little Mermaid portrayed by Halle Bailey, and I'm also very excited to play Sword and Shield, and I'm actually also very excited to maybe at some point cosplay as Nessa. Maybe I'll make another video later on talking about the issues that sometimes being an African American within the nerd society has, or what it's like, because we're always, as African Americans, told what we can't be instead of what we can be. We're always told what we can't be, which sucks, because like, I don't want anyone telling me or my future children what they can and cannot be, because to me, just because your child who's not a person of color, or because you who are not a person of color can feel like you can be anything you want to be in society, or portray anyone you want to portray, it's okay for you. But whereas for me, it's not okay for me to portray a particular character or anything like that. I have to only stick with characters whom look like me, especially when there is so few whom look like me. So yeah, that's the bottom line. Let me know what your thoughts on. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me, and I'm completely okay with that. I know a lot of people are going to say that, am I thinking people are racist for them saying that Ariel needs to be white and shouldn't be black? No, because I feel like people are just going based off of what they saw in childhood, and to see that drastically change probably, you know, is startling for a lot of them. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but whatever. But I know people are not going to agree with me, and I'm perfectly okay with that, because you know what, I honestly don't care, because it's not a big deal. Get over it. I hate saying that, but do, because if you're not a person of color, you're not going to understand it, where it comes from sometimes. And you know, having to deal with certain stuff in today's society, and not having a lot of characters that look like you, or feeling like characters are only portrayed in one way. But that's my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, like always, subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell icon for post notifications. Those post notifications that come out the videos every Wednesday and every Saturday. And I will see you guys soon with another video. All right, you guys. Bye. Oh yeah, and like always, I always say to you guys, stay positive and be nerdy. All right, you guys.